What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I hope that your day is going fine. If not, then I hope tomorrow gets better. Now, this ain't a reaction. This ain't anything else I be doing. This is just some information that I think should be passed along because it's something that I just went through, and I felt like what I learned is too valuable to keep to myself. So I'd rather share it. So to let you know what I'm talking about, I was getting sued by a debt collection agency company, right? This started back in January, I believe, and I have some of the documents that they sent me, and I just want to tell you guys what happened and how I went through the process, and I actually end up winning my case. So a lot of people don't win their cases. A lot of people go another direction, but I won my case. And I want to just tell you how I did it. Now, I'm no expert. I'm just going to tell you what I did and the whole story. So around January, I was home minding my own business, and a car pulled up and delivered some papers. They asked me who I was. I say, yes, I'm this person. And they said, this is a subpoena for you to go to court. And I only thought about two things that I could go to court for. And I'm like, that shouldn't be right, because if I go to court for that, it's going to be in my favor. And I'm sure I wasn't going to get sued for that. But nevertheless, I went and I read the affidavit, and I did all of the due diligence of trying to figure out what I was being sued for. And when it came down to it, I was getting sued by, I believe it was Citibank. This is just like a notice to appear right here. So this is not actually the first affidavit that I got. But it was a company, I think it was called Citibank. And they had my name. They had the last couple digits of my social security number. And they had some addresses on there. But the main address that they had was in South Florida. And I never lived there. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. And I tried to jog my memory to see if I did have a loan with this bank, or if I didn't pay it. I was trying to jog my memory because I didn't recognize that bank. I didn't recognize the loan. I didn't recognize none of that. So I'm like, something ain't right. I said, I have to figure out how to fight this, because I know that I haven't had this loan. All right. So the first thing I did, and the first person I started to study, was a guy on YouTube, and he have a channel that's called The Credit Repair Shop. Now, although I wasn't going against, like, trying to fix my credit or nothing, he deal with this type of stuff. He deal with these type of lawyers, and the stuff that he deal with fixing people's credit is the information that helped me. So I went and I looked on his channel, and this guy, he got videos about everything. But some of the main things that he told me to do was go through your affidavit and make sure you read, because once you get your affidavit, it's going to be a lot of questions. And I'm going to pull that up right now, and because I don't have the original paper, but he went through those bullet points on that paper, and he said, make sure you answer each and every one of those questions, and you send that affidavit back in to the courts. That way you'll have your responses on file, because sometimes people just show up in court and they have nothing to fight with, and you know, the plaintiff, they just walk all over the defendant, which would be you, which was me. So the first thing that I got from him, from the courts, was a summons, and that's when they gave me the affidavit. And what I had to do, I believe 14 days or a certain amount of days before trial that I had to have those responses returned to the courts. And I went through them. I went through each and every one of them, and I answered them. Now, it's only, I could say three things that you could do. You can agree that the information is it's true. You can dispute the information is true or false. And something else you could do is what I did, was ask for further explanations of what the paper was saying, because sometimes you don't understand that jargon that they put on there. So if I didn't understand it, I would give the best answer, the reply that I could, and tell them I would like more explanation. So I'm gonna give you a few examples of one of these responses that I gave. So on here, I had 16 things that they were trying to fight me for. So in the first response, I put, in response to general allegation, paragraph 1, I do not dispute. And that could have been something like talking about my address, my current address. Yes, this is my current address. I do not dispute this. And I did that for a couple of them. Now, when I got down to number 3, no, it was number 4. I put, in response to general allegation, paragraph 4, I do not understand and would like more explanation. Because you got to think about it. You're going to be going to court. You're going to be under oath. So don't lie. You know, that's what the guy from the credit repair said. He said, don't lie. And on and on and on. It was so much stuff. And one thing that I do know he told you to ask for was a validation letter. And from my understanding, what a validation letter is like a contract. If I have a contract with you and I'm lending you money, me and you drop a contract, then that's valid proof that you took out a loan from me or I took out a loan from you. That's valid. So what I learned during this process is that when you go through a company and you take out a loan, and let's say you don't pay that loan back and it goes into collections, that company has insurance that will cover that loan, and I believe it's called a write-off. Don't quote me verbatim because I'm going off memory, but I want to share this. And they're covered from that loan, so they would sell that loan to these other debt collection agencies, and they buy these loans for like pennies. They buy these loans for a small amount of money, and they're capitalizing off of these loans. And I'll tell you how they do that later. But when that loan is bought from that person, that means they bought that loan. You have, from my understanding, I have no contract with the people who I bought a loan, who bought that loan from the bigger company. I have an agreement with the company that I have the loan from. So I hope that y'all following me. So he told me to ask for, well, he didn't tell me that was his rules. He said, ask for a validation letter. He said, these will be some things that will make the credit companies either not come to court or stop bothering you. So in my case, I had to end up going to court. So I filled out my affidavit and my summons in its entirety, and I sent it back to the clerk of courts. And then I had to go to court. So fast forward to my court date, I went there, and by it being COVID-19, they had it on Zoom. So everyone had to participate on Zoom. And let me tell you, the number one thing that you need to do is show up. After you fill out your responses, show up to court. Because I've seen so many people lose their case right in the courthouse just because they didn't come. And the judge going to call you, well, I don't know how your judge would, but he's going to call you a couple of times and he's moving on. And he's going to give that plaintiff that win. So if you don't show up, you lose. And if the lawyers don't show up, you win and they lose. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to show up, because if you didn't file a response, that showed them that you kind of don't care. So file your response and show up to court. So when I got to court, like I said, we was on Zoom and they called my name and the judge asked me a few questions. He was like, do you agree or do you deny? I said, I don't know what this is. I said, I have no idea about this this loan or whatever it is, and I just need more explanation. I said, I filled out my responses, but I didn't get any response back. So from that point, they moved us to a mediation room, or not a mediation room, another room to set up a mediation. So the judge, he was kind of, to me, the judge was on their side, if you ask me. But anyway, we got in the room with another lady who was supervising that room and was trying to orchestrate a time and a place where I could meet with the company to see if we could work out an arrangement or we could work out mediation. So basically, they're trying to say, look, y'all got to go over here and y'all need to work out something for you to pay them. And if you don't know and if you intimidated, you just gonna go with it. But I knew that I ain't have no loan with these people. I know that that loan wasn't familiar to me. And I didn't never have that address. So in court, it's always the burden of proof. They have to prove that this is mine. So I'm like, and I heard this from somebody else who won their case on YouTube. They say, if I'm going to lose fighting. And that was my mentality. So the whole time we were in that room, I was not taking no for an answer. They was trying to get me to set up something, and I gave an argument. I'm like, I don't understand why we got to continue to move forward. They're not proving that this is mine. Or somewhere, I said a lot of stuff. So the lady finally said, wait 1 second, let me go back and talk to the judge. So she left us in the room, talked to the judge, and then came back, and then she said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to go back in front of the judge. So I'm thinking at this point, okay, I'm finna get this thing taken care of. It's going to be out of my hair. But that wasn't the case. So we go back in front of the judge, and the judge was like, Mr. Kruger, tell me about this. So you think it's not yours? I say, I know it's not mine. I say, I need more information to see if this loan is mine because I don't recognize this. And matter of fact, when you go into court, I don't know about how your county works, but in our county, you could go see everything that's submitted, all the documents that's submitted on your case. And when I went through there, they had way more sheets of information than they served and delivered me. So I'm like, how they give me all this information on the court thing, but they didn't give me this initially? And the judge was like, it really don't matter. That's why I kind of feel like he was on their side. So I didn't like the guy. He looked like he was on drugs too, but that ain't none of my business. But anyway, after that, he was like, so you think this is identity theft? I say, I don't want to say it's identity theft and be lying under oath. I said, but I don't recognize this loan. So they saw that I wasn't going to budge. And he was like, well, what we'll do is set up a pretrial. Now, I don't know what none of this means. I guess we skipped all over mediation or what. But he said we'll go to pretrial. So at that time, the judge gave them 3 extra months to do whatever they needed to do. And so that was that. Fast forward, a couple of weeks later, I'm sitting home and I get a letter in the mail from the law firm. Now, let me tell you, when I sent my responses into the court, I got no answers from the law firm at all. So at this time, they sent me an affidavit for, identity theft. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. I said, I'm not filling this out. I said, because if I fill this out, then it's almost like I'm admitting that this is mine. So I said, nah, I ain't helping them do that. So my response to them was, I think this is the one. I really don't remember my response, and I don't want to make y'all hold up looking for it. But if I remember correctly, I wrote them back, and I said, I have received your affidavit for identity theft. However, these are not the documents that I requested during our court trial or our court process, and I don't feel comfortable filling out this information until I get the documents that I asked for in court. Respectfully, Kruger, or something of that nature. But what I did was I made sure on the bottom of my paper that I sent a copy to the clerk of courts. I sent a copy to their law office. And they also had another law office of theirs, I guess it was their corporate office in Chicago, and I sent it to them as well. Now, I don't know if that was a good move or a bad move on my part, but I wanted to be diligent and send my response to everybody involved. That way, if I got to court, they didn't have no excuse to say they didn't know that I requested that. And I wasn't saying that I wasn't going to do the affidavit, but I'm like, first, you give me what I need because I'm not finna help you build your case. Your case is to prove me wrong. So that's what I did. Now, at this point, it's just the waiting game. And it was like a month or so before we had to go to court. And I'm just sitting around waiting like, man, are they going to send me anything? Because I don't know what they know, blah, blah, blah. Nothing came. And when I got back to court, for my final court day, or in my case, it was my final court day. But when I went back for my pretrial hearing, we sat in that room, and this is just a side note. Listen, people, go to court. Fill out those responses. Go out fighting. If they gonna get it, go out fighting. I saw one lady in there settle for $8,000. Now I don't know what she knew, but $8,000, and they was just racking up like that. And these people buy these loans for pennies on the dollar. I was just shaking my head because I'm like, these people just don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I guess if my case was so unique, I was like, hey, y'all ain't finna bamboozle me. Y'all ain't finna get me like that. I just can't do it. And another side note, I started searching in the state of Florida, trying to find cases like mine. And I saw one case where one guy submitted responses and he won his trial. Another case where a lady submitted a response, she won her trial. And it was some other jargon on a lot of other cases where people didn't show up, they didn't fill out responses, and guess what? Those debt collection agencies was racking up. I'm talking about it's $1,000 here, $2,000 here. Man, you do that enough, you're gonna be getting paid. So I just saw so many cases where people just was not showing up and just looking over it and just acting like it wasn't nothing. I'm like, no, I ain't going out like that. So one thing I did was try to find cases like mine to kind of study and see what I needed to do and see what type of paperwork I needed and how to prepare. That's what I did. So finally, when I went back to court this last time, just a few weeks ago, I'm sitting in court, I'm waiting for my time. I'm like, man, these people ain't seeing me nothing. I say, I hope the lawyer don't show up, because in some videos I saw people say when they wrote responses, the lawyers wouldn't even show up to court. In my case, that wasn't right because the lawyer was there. And it might be a Zoom thing, but he was there every time. But when it finally got to my name and the judge called my name, she looked at the paper. She was like, wait a minute. She said, this case has been dismissed. She said, you're free to go, Mr. Kruger. I ain't waste no time. I got up out of there. I won my case. And it was dismissed without prejudice. Now, I don't even know what that means. But the dude on the credit repair, he said, if you go and you win your case and the lawyers want to let you have it, he said, ask for it to be dismissed without prejudice. And let me tell you, my case was dismissed without prejudice. So I don't know who this video for. I hope that it helped you, but I won my trial. And I'm not no lawyer and I'm not no expert, but I went in there and I did what I was supposed to do. So I hope that this information is helpful. If not, I'm going to tell somebody else anyway. Until the next time, peace.